Emma had always thought love would come in a sudden, dramatic wave, like in the movies, where the music swells and two people realize at the same time that they've been destined for each other all along. But life, as she had learned, was quieter. Love wasn't always loud. Sometimes it lingered in the background, like a song that played so softly you only realized you were humming along after hours had passed. That was how it felt with Sophia. They had been best friends since college, bound together by late-night study sessions, shared playlists, and an ability to laugh at the same absurd things. Sophia was fire, bold, quick-witted, unafraid to speak her mind, while Emma was more like water, calm, observant, flowing around the edges of things. Somehow, they balanced each other perfectly. To everyone else, they looked like inseparable friends. But to Emma, the weight of something unspoken pressed harder each day. It was in the way her chest tightened whenever Sophia's hand brushed against hers, even by accident. It was in the way her laughter lingered in Emma's head long after the sound had faded. And it was in the way she sometimes caught herself staring too long, memorizing the shape of Sophia's lips as though they held the answers to all the questions she never dared to ask. Tonight, though, something felt different. The city was alive in its usual way, cars rushing, neon lights glowing, but between them, silence carried a meaning Emma couldn't quite name. They had spent the evening at a small cafe, talking about everything and nothing. Now they walked side by side through the streets, and Emma noticed the little things. How Sophia's hair caught the light from a passing street lamp, how her coat brushed against Emma's arm, how her steps slowed slightly as if she didn't want the night to end. Emma's heart thudded painfully, begging her to say something, to do something, to bridge the space between them before it was too late. She tried to swallow the words that rose in her throat, but they came out anyway, softer than she intended. Why does it feel like the world disappears when it's just us? Sophia stopped walking. She turned toward Emma, her eyes narrowing slightly, not in suspicion, but in thought. The silence stretched, and Emma feared she had said too much. Her palms grew clammy, her stomach twisting in knots. But then Sophia spoke, her voice low and trembling in a way Emma had never heard before. Because maybe it's supposed to. The words hung between them like a secret finally set free. Emma's breath caught. She wanted to ask what Sophia meant, but something in her gaze stopped her. There was vulnerability there, a softness Emma had never noticed until now. And with it came a flicker of hope, fragile but alive, glowing just beneath the surface. For the first time in years, Emma allowed herself to imagine that maybe, just maybe, Sophia had been waiting too. The quiet stretched between them, thicker than the cool night air. Emma shifted, unsure of whether she should laugh it off or step closer. Her heart raced, thumping so hard she thought Sophia might hear it. For years, she had hidden her feelings under layers of friendship, convincing herself that nothing more could ever come of it. But now, standing beneath the amber glow of the street lamp, Emma felt that careful disguise slipping away. Sophia's eyes searched her face. There was no teasing smirk this time, no witty remark on her lips. Instead, there was a softness, something tender and cautious, as though she were standing on the same fragile edge as Emma. "You've been quiet tonight," Sophia finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. Emma swallowed. "So have you." A small smile tugged at Sophia's mouth. "Maybe I'm tired of pretending everything's the same." Emma's pulse skipped. The words struck her like a spark, igniting the possibility that Sophia had been carrying the same weight. The same longing, the same fear of ruining what they already had. "Pretending?" Emma asked, her voice trembling. Sophia nodded slowly, her gaze never leaving Emma's. "Pretending that when you look at me like that, I don't feel it too." The world tilted. Emma blinked, trying to make sense of what she had just heard. The hum of the city seemed to fade, leaving only the sound of her breath and the wild beat of her heart. Sophia stepped closer, the space between them shrinking to nothing. Emma could smell her perfume, faintly floral, warm and familiar. It made her dizzy in the most comforting way. Sophia's hand brushed against hers, this time not by accident. Her fingers lingered, waiting, asking, Emma's instinct was to pull back, to protect the friendship she cherished so deeply, but her desire anchored her in place. She didn't want to run anymore. She didn't want to pretend. What if we ruin it? Emma whispered, the words cracking under the weight of both fear and hope. Sophia tilted her head, her expression serious but steady. And what if we don't? What if this, she gestured between them with her free hand, is exactly what we've been waiting for? Emma's chest tightened. She realized then that Sophia wasn't offering certainty. She was offering honesty. And maybe that was enough. The silence that followed was no longer empty. It was full of unspoken confessions, of trembling possibility. Emma felt her throat tighten as she realized there was no turning back. Say something, Sophia murmured, her thumb brushing the edge of Emma's hand. Emma looked into her eyes, finding the same fear, the same hunger mirrored back at her. And for the first time, she let herself breathe the truth. I don't want to stop feeling this, she admitted softly. Sophia exhaled sharply, like she'd been holding her breath for years. And in that moment, Emma knew the line between them was gone, and there was no going back. Emma could hardly breathe. The night around them seemed suspended, as if even the wind had stopped to listen. Sophia's hand was still brushing against hers, the faintest touch, yet it sent sparks racing up her arm and settling deep in her chest. They had stood close before, crowded elevators, concert lines, small cafe booths, but never like this. This closeness felt deliberate, charged. It was as though the years of laughter and late-night conversations had finally brought them here, to this narrow slice of time when both of them were willing to admit the truth. Emma searched Sophia's face, memorizing every detail, the curve of her cheek, the way her lips parted slightly as if she were about to speak, the nervous flicker in her eyes that betrayed her usual boldness. It was strange seeing Sophia, always so confident, standing here with her guard lowered. It made Emma's heart ache with tenderness. You're looking at me like you've never seen me before, Sophia whispered. Emma's lips curved faintly. Maybe I'm just finally seeing you the way I was meant to. Sophia let out a soft laugh, shaky and beautiful. Then she stepped closer until their coats brushed together, fabric against fabric, heartbeat against heartbeat. Her hand, once hesitant, slipped fully into Emma's, fingers intertwining as though they had always belonged that way. Emma's breath caught. She wanted to say something, to name the hurricane of feelings inside her, but words dissolved before they reached her lips. All she could do was stand there, trembling under the weight of what was about to happen. Sophia tilted her head, her eyes flicking down to Emma's mouth and then back up. The message was clear, but she didn't move further, not yet. She was waiting, asking without words. Emma's pulse roared in her ears. The fear of losing what they had battled with the hunger for what they could become. But then Sophia whispered the gentlest truth. You don't have to be afraid with me. That was all it took. Emma lifted her free hand, brushing her fingertips against Sophia's cheek. Her skin was warm, soft, grounding. For a heartbeat, they lingered there, locked in a gaze so intense it felt like the whole universe had folded itself into that single moment. And then, as though pulled together by gravity itself, their lips met. The kiss was slow at first, tentative, fragile, a question asked in the language of touch. Emma felt Sophia's breath mingle with hers, warm and sweet, before their mouths pressed more firmly, answering every unspoken thought that had lived between them for years. It wasn't fireworks. It wasn't chaos. It was something deeper. A release, a recognition, a homecoming. When they finally pulled back, their foreheads rested together, both of them smiling through shaky breaths. I've wanted that for so long, Emma confessed, her voice breaking with relief. Sophia squeezed her hand, her own smile trembling with tears she refused to let fall. So have I. For a long time, they didn't move. Their foreheads pressed together, breaths mingling, hearts racing in an unsteady rhythm that somehow felt perfect. Emma's hands trembled slightly where they rested against Sophia's face, but she didn't pull away. She couldn't. It felt too right, too necessary, as though if she let go, the fragile magic of the moment would vanish. Finally, Sophia pulled back just enough to look into Emma's eyes. Her expression was soft, almost disbelieving, as though she too was trying to process what had just happened. "Well," Sophia murmured with a shaky smile, "I guess we've finally crossed that line." Emma let out a nervous laugh, her chest still tight. Was it really a line? Or just the place we were supposed to end up? Sophia's smile deepened, her thumb brushing against Emma's knuckles. "You always make things sound so poetic." Emma blushed, ducking her gaze for a moment before meeting Sophia's again. "I wasn't trying to. I've thought about this more times than I can count. And now that it's real, I don't want it to disappear." Sophia squeezed her hand, grounding her. "It's not going anywhere." The certainty in her voice soothed Emma's fear. Still, the vulnerability lingered. A million questions swirled in her mind. What did this mean for their friendship? For tomorrow? For the life they had built so comfortably side by side? But when Sophia's fingers tightened around hers, Emma realized she wasn't alone in facing those questions. They would figure it out together. "Come on," Sophia said gently, tugging her hand. "Walk with me." They moved slowly through the park, the quiet night wrapping around them like a secret. Their hands remained clasped, a simple gesture that carried more meaning than Emma could articulate. She kept sneaking glances at Sophia, unable to stop herself. The way she smiled softly to herself, the way her hair caught the glow of the lampposts. They were little details Emma wanted to etch into memory. Sophia noticed the glances, of course. She always noticed. "You're staring," she teased, her voice slight. Emma felt heat rush to her cheeks. "Sorry. I don't know how to look at you the same way as before. Not after that." Sophia stopped walking, tugging Emma closer again. "Good," she whispered. "Because I don't want you to." Emma's breath caught. The honesty in Sophia's words cracked something open inside her, a dam she had held for years. She wanted to say everything she had buried. The late nights she had replayed Sophia's laugh in her head, the ache in her chest every time they hugged goodbye, the countless almost confessions she had swallowed down. But all that came out was the simplest, truest thing. "I think I've loved you all along." Sophia's eyes softened, her smile trembling. She leaned in, pressing the gentlest kiss against Emma's lips again, brief but full of promise. "Then we're in the same place," she whispered. The night had grown quieter, the streets thinning as the city slipped deeper into sleep. Emma and Sophia wandered slowly, still hand in hand, until they found a bench tucked beneath a sprawling oak tree in the park. They sat close, their shoulders brushing, silence cocooning them once more. But it wasn't the heavy silence of uncertainty anymore. It was soft, filled with possibility. Emma leaned back, staring up at the stars peeking faintly through the haze of city lights. She felt Sophia's warmth beside her, grounding her in a way nothing else could. Her chest ached with everything she wanted to say, but where could she begin? Years of swallowed words, of careful smiles, of pretending friendship was enough, all of it pressed against her ribcage like it might burst. Sophia was the first to break the silence. "You know," she began quietly, "there were times I almost told you." Emma turned, startled. "Told me what?" Sophia gave a small, rueful smile. "That I liked you. That I wanted more. But I always stopped myself. I thought, what if she doesn't feel the same? What if I ruin everything?" Emma's breath caught. The words sank into her like sunlight breaking through clouds. "You felt that way too?" Sophia nodded, her gaze dropping to their joined hands. "Of course I did. Do you think I stayed up talking with you until sunrise because I didn't want to? Or that I let you steal half my fries every time without complaining just because I'm nice?" She laughed softly, shaking her head. "No one else made me feel the way you did. Still, I was scared. Scared of losing you." Emma's throat tightened. She reached out, covering Sophia's hand with her own. "I thought the same. Every time I almost told you, I pulled back. I convinced myself it was safer to stay silent than risk everything we had." Sophia looked up then, eyes glistening with a mix of relief and regret. "All those years, we were both just waiting." Emma nodded, her heart twisting. "Yeah. wasting so much time pretending. They sat there, absorbing the weight of what could have been and the relief of what finally was. Emma's eyes stung, and before she could stop herself, a tear slipped free. Sophia reached up gently, brushing it away with her thumb. "Hey," she whispered, her voice tender, "we're here now. That's what matters." Emma leaned into her touch, closing her eyes briefly. "You don't know how many nights I lay awake wishing I could tell you." Sophia smiled softly. "I think I do. Because I had those nights too." Their gazes locked, and for a long moment, neither spoke. Everything they had hidden was finally in the open, and it felt both terrifying and liberating. Emma broke the silence, her voice trembling but sure. "So where do we go from here?" Sophia squeezed her hand. "Forward. Together. Wherever that takes us." Emma smiled, her heart swelling with a mixture of love and relief. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that love wasn't something distant or unreachable. The weight between them had lifted, replaced by something lighter, brighter. As they sat beneath the oak tree, the night wrapped gently around them, no longer heavy with hesitation, but alive with new beginnings. Emma could feel it in the way her chest loosened, in the way her smile came easily now unafraid. Sophia leaned back against the bench, watching her with a playful spark in her eyes. "You know," she teased softly, "all this time I thought I was good at hiding how I felt. Turns out, I'm terrible at it." Emma laughed, the sound breaking the tension that still lingered in the air. "Same. My best friend knew I had feelings for you before I even admitted it to myself. She used to say, 'You look at Sophia like she hung the stars.'" Sophia arched a brow, her lips curving into a grin. "And did I?" Emma met her gaze steadily, her voice soft but certain. "Yeah, you did. You still do." Sophia's smile faltered into something more tender, and before Emma could react, she leaned in, kissing her again. This kiss was different from the first. Less tentative, less fragile. It was warmer, fuller, like a promise sealed under the quiet city sky. When they pulled apart, they were both laughing softly, cheeks flushed with the dizzying joy of it all. Hand in hand, they began walking again, their steps light, unhurried. The city stretched out before them, streetlights glowing, shops closing, the occasional hum of a passing car, but none of it mattered. What mattered was the way Sophia's thumb traced lazy circles against Emma's skin as they walked, the way their shoulders brushed with every step, the way Emma felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. "You know," Sophia said after a while, "this is going to change everything." Emma nodded, unafraid now. "I want it to." Sophia smiled, her eyes glinting with that familiar fire. "Good. Because I don't plan on pretending anymore." They paused at the corner where their paths usually split, Emma's apartment to the left, Sophia's to the right. For years, this was where they would hug goodbye, promise to text, and go back to their separate lives. But tonight, neither of them moved. Emma tilted her head, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "So, whose place?" Sophia laughed, the sound rich and full. "Yours. Definitely yours. You have better snacks." Emma rolled her eyes, but her chest swelled with affection. "Of course that's your reasoning." As they walked the last stretch together, their laughter echoing into the night, Emma realized how extraordinary it all was. Not the kiss alone, not the confessions, but the ease of it, the way love slipped into their lives not as a storm, but as a sunrise, quiet and steady, painting everything in new light. When they reached Emma's door, Sophia stopped her with one last kiss, slow and lingering. And when she finally pulled back, her smile was soft, certain. "Forward, remember?" Sophia whispered. Emma nodded, her heart brimming. "Forward. Together."